asking questions at that time. You will ask. Yeah. Effect of intervention. Yeah, that is gross motor function. Only tracking reference to scale can be used to identify non-reference to scale cannot be used to identify to evaluate the effect. Non-reference to scale is equivalent. You cannot get standard score. You cannot get any quotient. You will only get raw score. That means today, before intervention, you have evaluated the child, and then after 1 month, you are evaluating the child. You will get the change in the raw score. But the motor quotient in a child who is being evaluated on non-reference scale today, remember that in non-reference scale there is an age also increasing. With the increase in age, the motor quotient also increasing. Okay. So with the specific age, motor quotient is always fixed. So when your sample you are doing the evaluation to analyze the effect of intervention, then remember your age is also increasing, but in that proportion your raw score will not increase so much. So that is the difference between criterion reference scale and non-reference scale. Non-reference will give you standard score, age equivalent, motor quotient. Criterion reference only give you raw score. So you compare 1 point raw score with next point raw score. That's it. Okay. Anybody else? I understand that when we talk about the scale for the evaluation, remember it is like a machine. The way you have MRI machine, you have ultrasound machine, and you can see the evidence that there is a damage in the brain, there is a lesion in the brain, there is a hematoma, there is a shin lesion, like that you can see. And you are very much sure that yes, child is having problem neurologically, and it is justified through the radiological evidence. But for the motor development, for the how physically child is delayed, or how motorically child is advanced, no machine can give you that information. So what machine you have to get that information? That machine is only these evaluation tools, and that tools are few more. As we go ahead with the class, we will. Okay, so in this class we'll be talking about different evaluation tools that we have or we use. Okay, so you saw about different types of brain lesion, right? And each type of these brain lesions can be categorized in prenatal, intrinsic, extrinsic, perinatal, postnatal. And ma'am in detail gave you idea about what will be the possible etiology. These etiology can be central nervous system malformation, that is congenital. It can be teratogen or any kind of a toxicity. It can be medications or infection. It can be asphyxia, or it can be some kind of neglect that can lead to trauma, that can lead to toxicity of anything. Now, in each of these categories, what are the diagnostic proportion? So, in case of prenatal, diagnostic proportion is up to 47 or up to 28% in case of central nervous system malformation, man say Danny-Walker syndrome or HIE, all that. So, when you see those information, you can assume, okay, by this much percentage, you can predict that child will have problem. But when you look at this 28%, what happens to the remaining 72%? Those remaining 72% we are not able to predict. What happens to the remaining? Here you have 53%, we are not able to justify. That means a child who has genetic malformation, say so, these Down syndrome, say so, these Dandy-Walker syndrome, or any such syndrome you take. Now we can say that okay, child possibly will grow, but how much they can grow? A Down syndrome can be having lots of variation. A Down syndrome can be intellectually so sound that they can go to a shopping mall and say to parents that I want this cloth only. They can be so selective about the color. They can be so selective about their food choices. But you can have another Down syndrome where parents are struggling to feed them. They are not able to eat. They don't have any choice. Whatever has been given, they eat. They don't select. You can have another Down syndrome who play with their urine. They just micturate and they don't know what it is. They cannot differentiate between urine and water. So such kind of a variation you can see. Similarly, we have seen many Dandy-Walker syndrome. We have seen many lissencephaly, leukodystrophy. Now, out of that we can have a projection that how much of delay will happen, whether they will have a survival or no. We have seen the children with leukodystrophy who can have extensive spasticity of quadriplegic nature. But we have seen them also from quadriplegia, they are transforming into diplegic form. That means they can be functionally relatively better. That means, and we have seen Dandy-Walker syndrome who has ambulated. We have seen changes in their CNS system on the radiology, but after few years of life, they have got spasticity as well. Then there are some other syndrome you see with respect to the cerebellum, which ma'am spoke regarding this, the atrophy in the cerebellum. One of the things you see in the cerebellum is the Joubert syndrome, and I see here Joubert syndrome good number of cases. In our place, we hardly see. In a year, we probably will have 4 or 5 in our hospital. That means overall it is quite less. Here, the kind of Joubert syndrome I see quite surprising to me. Now, the classical radiological feature of the Joubert syndrome is molar tooth appearance of the cerebellum. Now, after what happens to Joubert syndrome? I have seen the Joubert syndrome improving. After 8 or 9 years, they are regressing to a level that they are getting renal nephropathy, and then after that they are on dialysis, and after that they are dying. We have seen Joubert syndrome where we know initially that they have got planovalgum. Initially they have flat foot. From flat foot they transform into planovalgum. From planovalgum they go into the knocking with the planovalgum, and then finally they have crouching, and then finally they are on the floor. That means they can have so much of regression. That is called projection can be projected. Similarly, this teratogen, and that you see this toxoplasmosis spoke. Ma'am said about that. You can have up to 21% projection, and most of the children with this kind of a thing, they end up in quadriplegic with lots of spasticity and lots of intellectual retardation. Similarly, asphyxia. This is the one where you can have some scope. There we say that we can predict up to 55%, and this is where actually we struggle. There is asphyxia, prematurity, or neonatal complication, and that is the actual domain where you can do something and you can correct among all these. Similarly, neglect is there. If you have a trauma, you can have a correction. Small infection, you can correct. Many meningitis, we are not able to correct. Many of the meningitis. And if you look at the children, meningitic children post meningitis, many of them are irritable, and what we call it CNS irritation. And then anybody touches, they have tactile defensiveness. You touch, and then they start crying. They hear some sound like when you have a cold. Okay, little sound will be there. It feels like your ear is humming, and you say, "Please keep quiet." It is something like they become so much sensitive. Their hearing threshold increases. Their entire cranial system, it looks like it will burst off. So many of the meningitis we haven't found much success. So what is the key area where you can have a success is this perinatal crisis, where you have a birth asphyxia, prematurity or neonatal complication. Possibly we can predict something. We can be sure that we can help. But many of the other diagnoses, genetic, CNS malformation, metabolic, you saw about inborn error of metabolism. We have seen children where they have allergic to sodium. That means no time in their life they can ever have salt in their food. If they have salt in their food, they get epilepsy, they get any kind of allergies. There are children who has things like they cannot be given milk product at all. There are children who cannot be given anything called gluten. Like that, you can have some children are there where they are allergic to chocolate. You cannot give them. So like that, you can have different situations. So ultimately, among all the category of the children where we can have success, that is this. The rest of the category, possibly we will not succeed much. And that is the reason that why we are able to say that we may have crisis. So the question is it critical in newborn assessment, the developmental evaluation? So the answer is yes. Why the answer is yes? Because the timely initiation, at correct time you initiate, possibly you can provide supportive management. Second, you can prevent the complications. Okay, when we talk about complications, what complications we are talking? Do you think the children who is born and they have crisis and then they are born with contraction in their muscle? Except MCC, multiplex congenital contraction. Except those MCC children, no children are born with the contraction. You look at yourself. Some of you are hypoplastic. That is, you will be thin. How much ever food you eat, you cannot gain the weight. Some of you, even though you are dieting, you keep gaining the weight. That means your muscles are hyperplastic. This hyperplasia and hypoplasia is a fixed phenomenon. It is your genetic phenomenon. Your number of muscle cells are fixed. What you add by nutrition is fat. So you do not increase the number of cells. What you increase is each cell circumference will increase. Number will never increase. So that is the reason, even though you increase your dietary consumption, you do not gain weight. But there are another category of the people who keep eating, still they are not gaining weight. They always complain, I am not gaining anything. That is where it is that we say that can we prevent the complications. We see a children who is thin. Most of the premature children would be thin. Sometimes those premature children would grow, some of them will continue to be thin. So the question is that whether all the children who is born, they are born with contraction in their muscles. Answer is no. That means over a period they develop the tightness or contraction. When they are developing tightness or contraction over a period, what we were doing? That is the question. So can we prevent the complications? Can we improve prognostication capacity? As I said, there are children who you diagnose as spastic quadriplegia. They have intellectual normality. That means mentally they are thinking like us. Possibly that kind of children can transform into spastic diplegia. To whom you diagnosed as spastic diplegia, possibly by therapy, you can convert them into spastic paraplegia. The children who has spastic paraplegia, by therapy, possibly you can convert them as an ambulatory child. Those who are ambulating, possibly you can allow them to ambulate normally. But the children who has spastic quadriplegia with mental retardation, possibly they continue to be spastic quadriplegic. Means you can improve the prognostic situation of a baby. How you can improve that prognostic condition of a baby? Provided you have got early diagnosis and you have got early therapeutic implementation which move towards corrections. If it is going to move towards corrections, remember, none of us are born with tight muscles. So a child who has got birth injury, they are not born with tight muscles. tightness in the muscles over a period grow. I hope most of our colleagues in the horse department, they know now that I asked them to check their hamstring flexibility. And they themselves accept that they have got tight hamstring. Now, you see many of your children, they have got lots of flexibility. They can virtually abduct and they can go down on the floor. How many of you can do that? You see some children who has got ligamentous laxity. One of the things that you will see very easily in Down syndrome. What you see in them? Complete hip will move into 180 degree of abduction, 90 degree on each side. So what happens to them? They are not able to ambulate because nobody can walk like this. We need the hip to come to the neutral position at the shoulder level. Now, question is how we bring that. Similarly, we had some discussion regarding, we also have a genetic specialist and here also. So when I see lots of genetic cases, I actually ask consultant that what you do, is there any solution? The answer is no. And I visited Iraq a few years ago 2-3 times and I saw many genetic conditions over there. And I'm asking, after genetic diagnosis, what is the solution? The answer is no. Only we can have a counseling. So the thing is, we work with the counseling over there. Can we have a counseling at time? Okay, I just give you my practical experience. We had a young family. They had first baby. That first baby was diagnosed to have SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. Then the family came and asked us, should we go for second baby? No way we can say no. I was too young to say to them about having a second baby opinion. I said, please ask somebody senior, I'm too young. They said, no, what is your opinion? I said, if you have a SMA1, SMA first baby, there are chances that you can have a second baby SMA also. They took the opinion and they went for the second baby. Second baby also had SMA. Okay. Now, the first baby survived up to 10 months. Second baby, when they came out, they came to me. It was like a just flail, flaccid body. Nothing can be done. That baby survived hardly some 6 months. Then after that, because of my way of communication, they were not so much satisfied with the genetic counseling. They said, okay, we want to go for third baby. What do you say? I said, you know the first two situations, rest is up to you. Anyway, the family is a family, they have full right in any country. They went for third baby. Third baby also SMA. Question is, point is, third baby didn't survive in 1 month. Finally, they had fourth baby. Fourth baby was without SMA, but developmental delay. And that fourth baby is walking today. Imagine now, if we were telling no, based on genetic counseling, what would have happened? The family would have been without a child. Many times we cannot predict. We have seen many Dandy-Walker syndrome in the family. Okay, one Dandy-Walker syndrome and the next subsequent babies are fine, possible. So that means prediction is very difficult. However, we have to trust the opinion of the geneticist anytime compared to us as a professional, as a physical therapist. Then, the better access to service if we identify early, like what we are seeing in our system of practices. If I have a baby who is Erb's palsy, and the baby should come to us before 1 month, possibly that baby will have normal hands. There are children who is coming to us after 10 months, after 1 year, where the bone has become short. We cannot do anything, believe me, because I hope you know Old's law. Old's law says that bone will grow in response to stress and it will degrow in response to de-stress. What is the stress? Stress is loading. So when you apply loading, both hand grows symmetrically. You have a normal length. In Erb's palsy, one they will apply, one they will not apply. So what happens? The other hand keep getting short. When it keep getting short, once it is short, what you can do? You cannot do anything. Then avoidance of inappropriate and costly and traumatizing test. If we do this, possibly in future, the most costly expenses can be minimized. In terms of as a physical therapist, when a pediatrician is diagnosing a baby, or neonatologist is telling us that we have a premature baby with so and so conditions, can you help? We have worked in NICU and we guide the staff what we can do. We are able to prevent asymmetry, we are able to prevent iliopsoas tightness, we are able to prevent neck asymmetry, that is obviously because posturing. After that, ultimately baby has to come down. Down means for the therapy. When the baby coming down, transformation has to take place. The body is going to getting bigger. When the body gets bigger, we had a child who had infection and then the entire leg was necrotic. Now, and that time it came, so many opinions were there here only, and we have to maintain the confidentiality, just sharing the case with you. Today the baby's wound has healed. Now what we are facing is the short limb and the contractured hamstring. So now that we are attempting to correct, the answer is possibly we will not be able to correct. The situation is like that. So now, can we prevent so much of inappropriate, costly, traumatizing thing? There are so many opinions that can come on this aspect, but as the situation demands, based on that we can discuss about that. So in the evaluation, what we can analyze. So what we need to do is 3-generation review. You know about this recurrent miscarriage, birth defects, infant death, the global developmental delay or intellectual delays, neurological conditions, genetic conditions, ethnic background, or consanguinity. This particular fact, I see this as a strong. I will address this, okay? In my place, this is not a factor for a child to have cerebral palsy. We analyzed almost 15 years data, and we found that out of 15 years data, that was somewhere close to 3,000 plus children, fresh one, new one. Hardly 1% had consanguinity, but here when I see many.
1100.
So if I present that argument, none of you will agree. But when I see your situation here, I have to agree that this is one of the factors. So like that, country to country, we can have variations regarding this. Yes.
Also, you mentioned recurrent miscarriage and infant death. It can be.
Yeah. Infant death, okay. How to explain to you? Miscarriage is like if the mother had miscarriage just 6 months ago, okay, due to some reason which mother doesn't know. Okay, how to answer you? I go back to another way. Do you know that out of 100 conception taking place, we all here sitting here belongs to only 50 conceived survival? That means 50 conception out of 100 has gone even without mother knowing. Without parents knowing that she has conceived. Only the 50 that we all are sitting here are seeing the survival. Okay? Among those 50 that survive, hardly some 8 or 11% who actually doesn't sit here are the one for whom we are talking about this program. Rest, around 40 out of those 50 are the one we all are. That kind of statistics you see. That another thing is infant death. If you have intrauterine growth retardation and you don't see heartbeat at all, but conceivable has happened, pregnancy test is positive, fetus is as good as not to survive. You have a situation where, which I have seen, the mother had first delivery cesarean. Mother is going for second baby. Second baby, now mother is deciding that I will go for normal because her friends told that you have to go for normal. You know what happened? The fetus died intrauterine. Your system is not lax enough to go through the normal birthing process. You are not ready. So what will happen? Fetus will undergo stress. Okay. Another point is that why fetus baby cry after delivery. I hope you know for that fetal heart rate is important. You know THR, total heart rate, target heart rate. Target heart rate is 220 minus age. Correct? Any one of you, if you know, target heart rate to calculate in cardiorespiratory fitness is 220 minus age. What is that 220? 220 is the fetal heart rate. That is the maximum heart rate a fetus will have. Then after birth, you keep deducting your age. 1 year you will deduct 220 minus 1 year. So it will be 219. Clear? So like that you calculate your target heart rate. So when you see NICU, most of the newborn will have a heart rate 180 plus, 200 plus, and I say, don't worry, it's okay. But people are afraid something will happen, tachycardia will happen, ventricular fibrillation will happen. Ventricular fibrillation happens, it is as good as getting cardiac arrest. So that is the one. Okay. So now you know the birth canal. So birth canal is something like this, and the fetus is something like this. Okay. Sorry, the chest is something like this. Now you know that first head has to pass. So as the head is passing, after that, after head you have a wide shoulder, and you have a pelvic brim, and then the baby has to manipulate to clear the shoulder. That much you know mechanism. After the shoulder, what is there? Chest of the baby. Chest of the baby has to compress against the pelvic brim. What will happen? The heart rate drops down. That is the critical point. That is the time where you need fetal heart rate monitoring. Now, imagine if your fetal heart rate, I don't have a blackboard here, if your fetal heart rate, just imagine when you allow the mother to go for the normal birthing process, if your fetal heart rate is 140, be sure that during the normal birthing process 140 will become 80, be sure. Okay, now whether that 80 heartbeat during the birthing process will be making the fetus survive, critical question to be decided, a domain of obstetrician. Clear? Now imagine if the fetal heart rate is somewhere 110, 40 point it will drop further during the normal birthing process. Do you think fetus will survive? No. These are the critical point of the confirmation that whether one has to go for normal birthing process or one has to go for cesarean process. The infant death happens due to some reason like this. Plus you can have a infant toxicity, fetal toxicity will happen, or the fetus is born and after that you have some kind of anomalies and then the infant is dying, many other reasons. Like that. Then you can have a recent miscarriage. After a recent miscarriage, do you think a female body is ready for the second conceivable? You need to have a time span given. Unless that time span is given, that is called mother and child health. The mother may not be fully ready to conceive another baby. If at all it happening physiologically, then what will happen is that fetus can have some kind of abnormality. That is avoidable. Second point, okay, most important. When we were all born, the pregnancy was never considered as a disease. I was born in a village. Maybe many of your parents also would have been born in a village. Pregnancy is considered as a normal physiology. Today, pregnancy is a disease. Because you get pregnant and you feel you have a right to take rest. When you have a right to take rest, your pelvic floor muscles is not strong enough to hold the growing fetus. So what will happen? The fetus will descend down. Moment your fetus descend down, what will happen? You have to sleep with the leg up position to allow fetus to have normal intrauterine environment. If you don't allow, the fetus is out. You need NICU, you need incubator. Now what growth should happen inside is happening outside. Challenge is very high. How survival will happen? So are you ready to allow mother and child health to be good enough to have a healthy fetus, to have a healthy baby? Okay, you have heard about Bolt, Usain Bolt, right? The one who won the Olympic 100 meter, Usain Bolt, right? And you have heard about so many football players, Diego Maradona and all, blah blah. Okay, do you know why you like them? Because you look at their movement quality, look at their speed, look at their agility. You enjoy that. You get thrilling. Same thrilling you have adrenaline pump when you want to drive your car first time. You keep pressing over accelerator. It is going. You are enjoying. Going. Somewhere it will bang. The thing is, what is that makes Bolt? What is that makes Maradona? It is your hemoglobin count. What makes somebody scientist? Your hemoglobin count, mother's hemoglobin count, which is important because that is called, what is called chip, mother chip, the brain, and that will come from hemoglobin state of mother. If the mother has good hemoglobin state, absolutely that mother will have healthy pregnancy duration, will have a healthy baby. Prematurity will not take place. So we should understand that we need to keep our body ready to give life to a newborn. Ultimately, as a male, we don't have right to give right. As a female, only female has right. Now, that is the exclusive gift given by the God to you. When that gift is given, parallelly, you have to keep your body medically ready. If you don't keep your body medically ready for a newborn to grow inside you and so subsequently outside, it will be crisis. Historically, if you look at the pattern of the development, if a child is healthy intrauterine, child will be healthy extrauterine as well. If a child is sick intrauterine, sometime in their life, child will be sick. So out of that, you see stem cell therapy concept is there, where you have a child born with the myocardiopathy, and then you have weakness, and then idea is that if you give a stem cell, it will correct. Believe me, I have seen some 6 or 7 cases where stem cell therapy was given, none of them got corrected. So why this point is that you save your umbilical cord blood. That will happen only you deliver, and that is called mother cell. Mother cell is what? Mesenchymal cells. All mesenchymal cells are mother cell, and that will happen. So because if it is, you are saving it, some kind of a disorder is there, anticipated correction will happen. Science is there, is going to come, and the science, if it is going to refine further, stem cell only will be the medicine in future. That is considered as future medicine. So for that, it is important that all the mother, the expectant mother, is preparing their body to conceive. Once they have conceived, keeping themselves active so that premature labor doesn't happen, so the fetus keep growing healthy, and when the fetus deliver as a baby, believe me, you will enjoy such babies because they don't disturb you with the health, they don't disturb with your education, they don't disturb you with discipline. All the way they will be better. So that is how it is there, and then that we need to pay attention regarding that. Okay, then we spoke about ultrasound as well, and that is the only way you can confirm the information. Then any kind of screening for the fetal anomalies. Then you see the maternal diabetes state or maternal hypertension state. You look at the infection, look at the exposure to the medications. We have a colleague whose wife was having epilepsy, and she was managed for the epilepsy, and her baby and his baby is normal today. It is possible. We had a colleague whose wife was having like uncontrolled diabetes. Her diabetes was managed, and she has 2 babies, and both children are healthy. That means you need to know your body system. You need to know what crisis you have, and you need to have proper care. Then similarly, the weight and the height that you know, the head circumference, the APGAR score, the length of hospitalization. These things I always tell that every time I go to an SEO, I ask what is the weight today. Always remember a newborn weight and the 10 days, first 10 days, there will be reduction because there is a dehydration. And then after that there is a weight gain. Okay, so that is the critical one, the head circumference that decides. Many of you will have a frontal bossing. Those who has a frontal bossing, normally they are quite intelligent. So the children you see with the frontal bossing, they are quite bright and sharper. And similarly, you don't need too much of big head. So many of you are here, you stand up and look, or when you go out for the food, that time you look at each other, you will see each one of you has a different head size. Small head size doesn't mean that you are macrocephalic. Big head size doesn't mean you are a heterocephalic. It doesn't happen that way. But yes, we have a different dimension. Accordingly, you have a big brain. So among all the animal kingdom, mammalia, when you look at, okay, the human brain is considered as the best brain. It is the human who is considered as very difficult to be managed. All animal you can manage. Human animal very difficult to manage. You will know it over a period. And that is the reason you have human resource. Okay, and then you see this Apgar score, very critical at the time of birth, at 1 minute, at the 5th minute, and at the 8th minute or 9th minute calculation. And then how long the baby was hospitalized. Here I have seen maximum number of hospitalization. Maybe because it is a military hospital, no one has to pay. But in our country, a newborn in an SEU for 1 month, believe me, the family will get finished bankrupt. They cannot afford, not possible. Here I am seeing 8 months, 9 months, newborn is there, and they are coming out with so much good health. It is like a new learning for me. I call it, I am learning myself over here, and I can see them day to day they are growing. That is something like you can say a gift. As a teacher, I can say I am getting from the hospital. Okay. Then psychological. There is psychological like a parent language, the education. You know, if I have to talk, my language is Hindi. If I have to talk in Hindi, it is quite easy. Your language is Arabic. You want to talk anything, very easy to talk. But mode of communication between us is common, that is English. Some of you can be speaking Urdu. If you say Urdu and Hindi, we can talk, we can converse. What has happened this? So when a newborn baby is there, that linguistic communication between the baby and the mother is so easy. But the same baby, can you imagine if you lift the baby and take to another house, baby will have confusion. Baby have to learn new. But whenever mother tongue will be incorporated or family is given such a family, then possibly it will be easy for the baby. So now, software programming. Who is intelligent here? When you look at all this computer software, those who has got multilinguistic capacity, they are the one who does this program. So that means learning many languages itself is a skill. So if you know that skill, you can do the programming very easily. This is where you see Indians are more in software, because we have so many languages. Hindi, English, Bengali, Tamil, Marathi, Konkani. Like that you have, you name it, you have the language. That means one individual, like I can speak Hindi, I can speak Urdu, I can speak English, I can understand Bengali, I can talk Bengali, I can speak Kannada, I can talk Kannada, I can speak Konkani. Okay, like I cannot read Konkani, but okay, like that we have. That means you get your capacity of intellectual transformation accordingly. So that is the one that is important over here. If a mother is multilinguistic, it is going to be very easy for the baby to grasp many languages. Then drug. I will not talk about this because you know it about very well that any kind of a drugs are not suitable for mother because if they are going to be an expectant mother. If they are expecting a baby, not good drugs any kind. Then child care arrangement, how you manage your child. All of you are working in our country also, females are working. Who will manage? I am also in office, you are also in office. Who will manage the baby? We need to think about this. Then history of neglect. In our place what happens, I always ask, who is the grandmother? who is the one going to treat the baby? I say them sit beside me. In our country, grandmother will come, aunt will come, they all will help. Here I am seeing that big crisis. Mother says, I have nobody at home. So one mother, one baby who was having so much of obstreperous questioning,